Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today is perfume review time, and I have a 15 milliliter spray Patchouli Imperial by Christian Dior from their, I call it always Privé line because it used to be called the Dior Privé line. Now it's called La Collection Couturier Parfumeur, whatever. Demachi, thank you for delivering 50,000 fragrances, and thank you for, discontinuing as also just as many, coincidentally discontinuing the ones that you haven't concocted and formulated yourself, which coincidentally are also some of the best fragrances that the Dior Privé line had to offer, including Cologne Blanche and Eau Noire. So, yes, I have been told that Eau Noire is out of production, unfortunately. Masterpiece gone. But Patchouli Imperial, I have sprayed it here an hour ago. So we have the dry down, and we're gonna spritz it on to the other hand freshly. Okay. It smells like something from the 50s. And then we have the patchouli, which is very hippie era, so it's very kind of late 60s, but nevertheless, what is fascinating about this one is that, patchouli is usually a note that in perfumery nowadays, it is used in niche perfumery as it is, the sweet patchouli is used in mass production perfumery, so we have the sweet patchouli, which was, and alas, unfortunately, still is a huge trend in mass product or mass produced perfumery. But the patchouli actually is an ingredient that usually kind of is pushed back into the bottom. It's usually a fragrance. It's usually an ingredient that is to be found in the dry down of fragrances. It's very rare that kind of somebody places a patchouli somewhere in the mid or top notes, of a fragrance. And the patchouli is here from the beginning to the end. Okay? Okay, dry down, the opening notes and the dry down are very different. So fragrance notes are kind of simple if you want. And let me just refresh the page here. It died on me. So we have cedarwood, coriander, Indonesian patchouli leaf, sandalwood, Calabrian bergamot, Sicilian mandarin. And as Demachi always has it, I sense out a bit of vanilla in there as well, in the dry down. I'm enjoying the dry down, but the vanilla in there tends to kind of create a sweetness to it, which I don't want to go there. The opening notes are fabulous. Before I get to the opening notes, in some Dior boutiques, you can get these 15 milliliter vials. You have to buy a minimum of 4. They don't have usually the entire range of perfumes represented in 15 ml vials, but they come in these like white carton boxes because these are supposed to be refills for a really expensive kind of refillable container, which I never purchased. I don't care for that. These are fine as they are, just to like test out the fragrances. Anyway, top notes. There's a dryness in there and a leafy green touch to something that is then combined. We have this patchouli, we have this Indonesian, how do they call it? The Indonesian patchouli leaf. And we have all the woods. So to me, this fragrance has that elevated kind of stature of, the crop of the tree. We were in the top of the tree, but then we also have all the trunk and the roots and the earth as well. And it's all in one. And you smell it from the beginning to the end. And that is very, very pleasant. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of patchouli, but the way it's rendered in this little, you could get it in huge bottles as well, of course. The way it's rendered in this perfume works for my nose. Would I ever purchase a big bottle? No, I wouldn't. This was a purchase from many moons ago, and I purchased it for my own references because I just wanted to, to have it in the library, in my perfume archives, just in case they were to discontinue, because they don't always produce these little vials. So the second that, they have a certain fragrance available in these 15 ml versions, I get that, obviously, because then, I'm not going to spend all that money I mean, this year anyway not, but in the past and also in the future, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of money on a giant bottle that I'm not going to end up using. Now, what is also interesting, you see little particles in the liquid, which is also very fascinating. There's a lot of naturalness in here. There's also a lot of artificiality in there as well. Don't be fooled. In general, patchouli is patchouli is an ingredient that has been synthesized to death. You know, there are so many artificial smelling patchoulis out there, and they annoy the crap out of me because the market is overflooded with them, you know. This one, even though there is a tendency of it, there's that something that's artificial there, and a lot of Dior fragrances from 2012 onwards have that artificiality in them. It really annoys me, and I would wish that they would find a way to kind of overcome that, to surpass that, you know, just to deliver something a bit less aggressive. Now, I'm even willing to not have huge longevity and projection in exchange for a bit more naturalness. That's just me, you know. Don't shoot the messenger for delivering the news, but there is artificial in there as well. It's ain't a 100% natural fragrance, even though, you know, a lot of people say, oh, but patchouli is always so natural. Listen, boo, it's never natural nowadays. There is no fragrance that's 100% natural that's sold in any sort of mass product or produced market. And even if they call it the privé line or whatever have you, it's still produced in big quantities. Nevertheless, I love wearing this when I'm walking through the woods. And it has to be in spring, and it has to be sunset, and I have to hear the crackling of the pine, of the needles or of the branches on the floor as I'm walking through the woods, that gorgeous sound of crackling underneath the shoes of nature. And it's so relaxing and soothing. And that's when I want to smell the Patchouli Imperial as well. It's like it rounds that entire experience for me. And yes, and I'm saying this, you know, all this natural, even though, you know, this one has something artificial in there as well. It doesn't matter. It still delivers the natural experience. And that is a masterpiece for me, because it's not that easy to play with so many artificial things and also adding that warmth with that kind of hint of vanilla at the bottom, you know, the Dimashi always has to do. It's kind of hard to play with an ego and to play with all these elements and yet still deliver something that is independent from you. So the Patchouli Imperial, in a way, is of the entire range of the Dimashi created, les Exclusifs, now I'm going to Chanel, of the Privé line, or the, whatever they call it, la Collection Couturier Parfumeur. This is the one, perhaps that's why he also gave it the name, Imperial Patchouli. It kind of detaches itself from the others. It stays noble in itself. It is like a fragrance of its own, in its own right. So what does that mean? That means that it kind of is so powerful that you don't necessarily have it screaming in your face that it is a Dimashi fragrance. And that, my dear Dimashi, is not bad at all. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if it was done on purpose, but this is one of those fragrances where you did let go of your ego a little bit. And I'm liking that. And I welcome that, and I wish you would do more of that in other fragrances that you're creating for Dior. Perhaps it's the fact that patchouli in itself is so overwhelming as an ingredient that it's hard to tame patchouli. It's very hard to tame patchouli. Patchouli tames you. It's not the other way around. Patchouli really does not bend to any winds blowing in any direction. It stays what it is. It's a very, very stubborn ingredient. And I think it was very clever of Dimashi to make this fragrance all about patchouli, not to try to tame it, you know, to like push it down. You can't push baby in the corner. You can never push baby in the corner. Here's a little quote for you. Who guessed? What movie is this from? Huh? 3, 2, 1. Did you guess? Didn't guess? Meh, lost. Okay. I ain't going to give it away. You have to guess what movie this is from. he did not tame it. He called it Imperial Patchouli. He's like, okay, girl, I ain't going to even try. I'm not going to push baby in the corner, put her in the bottom notes. No. Patchouli is going to run through this fragrance like blood through the veins or through arteries. It's going to be the life, the essence, the everything of this fragrance is going to be the patchouli. And that is so majestic. And I'm loving that. And I respect that very much, despite the fact that the patchouli doesn't smell as natural, you know? I love that it's just like there, center stage. It's like all lights on me. Hello, you want a good patchouli? Smell me. You want a good patchouli? Wear me. Wear me, but know from the beginning, know from the start, I will be wearing you. And this is why I like to use this one in nature, not so much in the city, because I can let go, you know? I don't like when a fragrance wears me. It's rare. I have a hell of a character. I can be extremely, you know, zesty, if you want, using here a euphemistic word for instead of using other words. And, you know, whether it be opium or cocoa or poison, I wear them. This one, I let it wear me. That's why I like it in nature, where I can let go, you know? Where I can literally just enjoy the flow, just make it all about it and all about nature and just kind of combining with nature. And you know how they say, so I've been told, that certain hallucinogenic, oh God, come on, why can't I pronounce the word? Mushrooms have that effect. You know, you should kind of, if you were, don't do it. But I mean, it's a natural product. It ain't a drug official. I don't know. Technically it is. But taking them in nature emphasizes the experience of being one with nature. Now, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying you should ever do it. You know, we're here on a family-friendly platform. Don't do drugs, people. Okay, okay. So, but this has a legal effect of a sort of a hallucinogenic interaction with nature. You're not going to have visions, none of the sort. What you're going to have, however, is whiffs of something very powerful while you are in nature. And nature is the most powerful environment we could ever imagine being in. When you exit the city and you enter a forest, you enter the woods, you enter the trees, you know, you're surrounded by trees, you're surrounded by something that is so much greater than you, so much, you know, deeper rooted literally than you, something that has a sort of a memory that has kind of, that appears to us to be still in time. You know, all these trees, they're all kind of, they're stable, they're static, they're always, and yet through their kind of very noble, elegant, apparent passive behavior, they see so much history and stories and life pass by. They are the owners of all the information, of all the secrets. If there's anything out there that knows it all, it's the trees. And that is so powerful. And if you really let it flow through you once you are in the woods and the forest, you can literally feel, you could hear the humming, the sounds, the whispers and everything. And it is beautiful to hear all that while you're wearing this. Because this kind of is super overpowering as well, but it also reminds you that because it has that hint of artificiality in there, it reminds you that you as a human being also have huge power and huge responsibility in this world, in nature. You have a huge responsibility to not mess it up, to not destroy it. We have a huge responsibility to preserve it, to preserve our Mother Earth. We came from this mother, and we shall be buried underneath it again. And all that time we're given while we are alive, most of the time we are given while we are alive, we use to mess the earth up. We use to pollute it. We use to disrespect it, to disrespect one another. That's basically, human beings are rotten, rotten creatures to the core. We are literally, you know, we're the most disgusting thing there is out there. And we really have to learn how to respect where we come from anew. This fragrance is all about that respect. The Mashi letting go of his ego, allowing the patchouli center stage. You know, you as a wearer allowing it to wear you from time to time. It's like acknowledging that there's something greater than we are. And that's why I respect this fragrance so much. It kind of always reminds me that it humbles me in so many ways. And that is a very, very positive aspect. The dry down, soft as a blanket of powdery notes. There's a bit of iris in there as well. Or not iris, but the orris root. It's smoky, almost leathery. The orris root has a leathery quality to it. There's a smokiness in there with hints of that vanilla, but it's beautiful. And this is, you know, dry down, and this is very fascinating, despite the fact that there's just a very tiny amount of ingredients in there really that are listed at least. Of course, there's more than there are listed, but the opening is a different fragrance to the dry down. It's cathartic. You're like, and again, nature. I know I'm drilling you with this nature, but it's important to stress. I'll never stress enough repeating it, and I'm going to repeat it again. It's a cathartic process. It's like you spray it on, fresh fragrance, you enter nature. As you're walking through the woods, you're experiencing stuff. You're listening to the humming, to the sounds, to the shadows, to the cold, to the warmth, to the sun filtering through the leaves and the branches. You hear a deer running through, you know, you see a meadow, then you're into the forest again. You're literally traveling through this process. The perfume mellows down, develops, evolves, and then once you exit the forest on the other side, you're a different person. You have been changed. There's a catharsis that has happened, and that's where you get the dry down. The dry down is dusty, it's musky, it's wise. There's wisdom there. You have gained. The opening doesn't have much wisdom. It has a hell of a character. But the dry down has wisdom. The dry down is like, okay, I was a bitch when I came into that forest. I was all ego, ego, ego. But now that I've exited, I have learned my lesson. I have learned that I am not the owner of this world. I am not me, you know? There's something greater than you and me. Something much bigger than us. And you kind of acknowledge that. The easy or the hard way, it all depends on you. How capable are you of being passive in that moment, of letting things come over you? And then when you exit that forest, you're not screaming anymore. There's no like, you know, ego, ego, ego that we have in the opening. It's mellowed down. It's calm. There's peace. You have found your balance. And there's no more need to scream. It's more about whispers. And you're more at peace because you have that wisdom all of a sudden. You know. You're not afraid anymore. You know the truth. And that truth is Patchouli Imperial. Believe it or not. It's very special. Very, very, very special. But, you know, to be used cautiously and wisely, and you have to know when to use it. For me, super rare occasions when I get, you know, when I'm lucky enough to get the chance to go into nature. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this review. If you have, please do thumb it up. Let me know what you think about Patchouli Imperial and my review in the comment section down below. If you haven't already but do wish to, please subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So guys, no matter how deep and dark and dangerous the forest appears to be in the distance, we're not afraid. We're going to enter that forest and we're going to walk through it with an open heart because we never give up on love. Love you guys. See you soon. Take care. Bye.